Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. What that concert bomb now reveals. The new images right here tonight. The possible detonator carried in the suspect's left hand. Sweeping raids, our team witnessing the chaos. Also tonight, the suspect himself. His father and brother now arrested. Was his brother about to unleash a second attack, and where? Here at home tonight, tornado watch is up right now. 27 million Americans bracing in the east. Multiple tornado reports already. Severe storms moving up the East Coast tonight. Breaking news involving some of President Trump's top aides during the campaign and Russia. And President Trump and the Pope. They have not seen eye to eye before. What the president said to the Pope as he left the meeting. And America Strong, the grad student and the mom who took notes when he couldn't. The major surprise for her right here tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we are just back from Manchester, England tonight, where there is breaking news on several fronts. The raids underway after the terror attack at a concert. Tonight, the bomber, what we've learned, and was his brother about to bomb again? Heavily armed police teams raiding several sites around Manchester today, now in a race to uncover a hidden network. And tonight, we have new images of pieces of the bomb itself and what they reveal. We begin with ABC's correspondent Terry Moran in Manchester.
In the terrible moment the bomb went off,
oh my God.
it left behind amid the carnage and fear clues to how it was made and by whom. Tonight, those crime scene photos obtained by the New York Times and posted on their website reveal the bomb's sophisticated design. The possible detonator bloodied, carried in the suspect's left hand, investigators believe, with a small circuit board soldered inside and a protruding red wire. A mangled 12-volt battery, more powerful than those seen in most suicide bombs. Nuts and screws used as deadly shrapnel. And part of the blue Caramore backpack the bomb was carried in. Investigators now concluding that this bomber was no lone wolf.
I think it's very clear that this is a network that we are investigating.
Whoa. This morning, police stormed a building in central Manchester, targeting a third-floor apartment. Neighbors told us they thought it was being rented as an Airbnb unit.
And you can't know who everybody is.
While we were there, police have been at this location for about 3 hours, and all of a sudden they've tackled this man here. They're making some kind of arrest. We don't know if it's related to the attack or not, but things happened very fast here. It turned out a police officer had simply been trying to break up a fight.
Asking people to move.
And tonight, police say all the victims have now been identified, stilling the faint last hopes of so many, like Charlotte Campbell, who desperately sought her 15-year-old girl, Olivia.
Olivia, Mummy loves you. Please just phone me and come home, please.
Tonight, Olivia, too, among the dead.
Just heartbreaking for Charlotte, who the world watched in that tearful plea. Terry Moran with us tonight from Manchester. And Terry, police in that city now searching for any possible accomplices. And you were telling us they're also preparing for a huge public event this weekend.
They are, David, even as the memorial here grows. The Great Manchester Run and City Games, which includes Europe's largest 10K run, 35,000 runners last year, will go forward this weekend, authorities say, safely. David?
Terry Moran leading us off tonight. Terry, our thanks to you. And the bomber himself this evening, just 22 years old. He had just returned to England 5 days before the attack. So where was he right before? And was his brother about to unleash another bomb? And tonight, what they have just discovered in the suspect's home. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross.
Tonight, these pictures on the front page of the British tabloids. Salman Abedi as a British schoolboy and a goofy-looking teenager at the beach. No indication of his rapid road to jihad. But tonight we are learning Abedi had been recruited by ISIS and that 5 weeks before the attack, he traveled to Libya, an ISIS stronghold and his family's ancestral home, returning to Manchester on May 17th, just 5 days before he set off his bomb. Officials in Libya today said they have arrested the bomber's father, who in this interview just before the arrest denied his son was a terrorist. Authorities also arrested the bomber's younger brother, Hashim, who they say confessed that he was in the process of carrying out what they called his own act of terrorism, and that he knew exactly how his brother's bomb was made. ISIS has posted videos online showing how to build a variety of suicide bombs. But experts say the details in the Manchester bomb show greater sophistication, including a design like the one used by ISIS for bombs in Paris and Brussels, and more than one detonator.
Really suggesting that he probably did not act alone, that he probably had some help, that he certainly had some advice on how to create the bomb.
And of course, that was the concern all along. Brian Ross with us because Brian's just getting information in about what investigators have now found in the suspect's home.
That's right, David. It was described to me as a kind of bomb workshop. A large quantity of unused chemicals, more than enough, they say, for several more bombs.
And concern about what his brother might have been planning.
Exactly.
Brian Ross and your team, thanks to you. We do have a breaking headline here at home tonight as well. Several reports of tornadoes coming in already. Watches in several states at this hour. This twister touching down near the coast of Georgia over the last 24 hours. Powerful straight-line winds flipping over this tractor-trailer on I-10 west of Houston. Tonight, those storms now tracking north, millions in the path as it moves up the East Coast. ABC's Steve Osinsami is in Atlanta.
Boy, that to me looks like a tornado, if not on the ground, awfully close to it.
Right before dinner tonight, tornadoes were touching down north and east of Charlotte, hitting homes and at least one elementary school that fortunately was empty. The evening ride home turned into a mess.
The tree is now down across I-77 southbound.
This same storm system sent families running to their basements in Autryville, North Carolina, Tuesday evening.
Get in the middle hallway right now.
An EF1 tornado with wind speeds of up to 110 miles an hour ripped the roof off their fire station and destroyed all but one of their engines. The volunteer firefighters made it out alive after they took cover underneath their trucks.
Within 10 seconds of us hitting the bay door, it hit the station. It was on top of us probably a minute and a half. That's what it felt like anyway.
North of Atlanta, where the soils are saturated, high winds knocked over this large tree on top of this home where someone was asleep in the bedroom upstairs. Luckily, everyone is okay here tonight. David?
That is a relief. Steve, our thanks to you. Let's bring in meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all for us tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. We have tornado watches and warnings ongoing, so let's get right to the radar. Florida actually finally getting some much-needed rain, but these lines of storms have really been doing some damage with 60-plus miles an hour moving towards West Palm and Delray. Tornado watches encompass much of the southeast, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia under the gun for the next several hours. Severe threat by 7 a.m. should be over, but Philly, Pittsburgh, back to Detroit, rain, a wet for much of the day from New York to Boston, really right on through Friday. This is a large stacked system, so it's going to be with the Northeast, David, for at least a couple of days.
All right, Rob Marciano tracking this into the night for us. Rob, thank you. We turn next here to a major headline involving President Trump and Russia. The New York Times just now reporting that American spies learned last summer that Russian officials were discussing how to influence Donald Trump through his advisors. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight.
The New York Times is reporting that U.S. intelligence officials allegedly obtained evidence of Russians bragging about the fact that they could use his advisors, former campaign manager Paul Manafort and General Michael Flynn, as a way to influence Donald Trump's views on Russia. According to the Times, that intelligence apparently played a role in the decision to launch an FBI investigation into whether there was collusion between Trump campaign officials and the Russians. Former CIA Director John Brennan testified that he asked for such an FBI investigation after he claims intelligence showed communication between Trump associates and Russian officials. ABC News has not independently confirmed the New York Times report. It's unclear tonight whether the Russian boasts are true, but a serious investigation is now underway, headed by former FBI Director Bob Mueller.
So let's get to Pierre live with us tonight. And Pierre, we are learning more about how the intelligence community has been spying on Russian officials for months. What's the primary concern about what they found?
David, the intelligence community is saying that they have evidence that Trump associates were talking to top Russian officials, and they're demanding that the FBI get to the bottom of it, David.
Pierre Thomas on the story again tonight. Pierre, thank you. Next to another developing headline involving millions of Americans who could lose their health insurance. At town halls across the country, we have reported on Americans angry and concerned, asking questions about what will happen to their insurance. Well, tonight, the new independent report is just out, looking at the new plan that has passed the House, repealing and replacing Obamacare. How many fewer Americans could be insured over the next decade? ABC's Mary Bruce on the Hill.
For months, Americans have crowded town halls, voicing fear and frustration. President Trump and Republicans have already declared victory.
This is a repeal and a replace of Obamacare. Make no mistake about it.
And tonight, we finally know what the House health care bill could mean for you. The Congressional Budget Office releasing their report card, finding the bill could leave 23 million more Americans uninsured and reduce the deficit by $119 billion over the next decade. For some, their premiums could skyrocket. A 64-year-old making roughly $26,000 in some states could see their premiums climb nearly $12,000 or more. Those concerns around the country fueled by last-minute changes to the bill that would allow states to opt out of guaranteeing coverage for basic health services like maternity care and even ambulances. And states could waive the requirement that insurers don't discriminate based on pre-existing conditions. Even Republicans admit that has to change.
We've got to deal with pre-existing conditions in a way that we know will actually work for people.
The report warning that over time, it would become more difficult for people with those conditions to purchase insurance because their premiums would continue to increase rapidly. It's far from a done deal. The Senate is now starting from scratch, and some Republicans are skeptical they will ultimately get this done.
Are you confident that this is still going to get done?
No. I think that I'm not confident. I think it's I don't know what the odds are, but I think it's going to be a tough call.
And Mary Bruce with us live tonight from Capitol Hill. And Mary, now that these new numbers are out, the Senate can finally get to work with the path forward you were telling us earlier, not very clear.
David, here in the Senate, there are serious concerns about this bill, even from Republicans. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell today admitting at the moment he doesn't know how he's going to get those 50 votes he needs to get this done.
All right.
David.
Mary Bruce live on the Hill for us again tonight. Thanks, Mary. President Trump and the Pope today, they're meeting at the Vatican, although they have had very public differences over the last year. As the president was leaving, he was heard telling the Pope, "I won't forget what you said." ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl on the gift from the Pope that sent a signal.
The Pope and the President, the ultimate odd couple. Their meeting may have seemed a little awkward at first, a beaming president standing next to a stoic Pope Francis. After it was over, though, the president called the meeting an honor.
He is something. He is really great. We had a fantastic meeting.
The president arrived at the Vatican greeted by the iconic Swiss Guard and a long red carpet, a welcome filled with pageantry. It wasn't long ago that these two men had a very public feud. The Pope last year saying then candidate Donald Trump's call to build a wall was not Christian.
Non è cristiano.
Candidate Trump reacting angrily.
For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
But today, here at the Vatican, the two began with a friendly handshake. The Pope gave the president a copy of his encyclical, where he makes a passionate case to fight climate change.
I'll be reading them.
At meetings today, the Vatican urged the president not to drop out of the Paris Accord on climate change. And the president promised to consider the Pope's request. And right before he left the Vatican, a sign the president may have been moved by what he heard.
The president there saying to the Pope, "I won't forget what you said," to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. Let's get to John Karl. He's in Brussels tonight on the eve of the NATO summit. And John, you covered then candidate Donald Trump, who famously said he thought NATO was obsolete. Now he meets with some of those very leaders. He's not expected to back down on some of what he said either.
Well, there's one thing he is definitely not backing down. The United States pays the overwhelming cost of NATO's defense. He said as a candidate that our NATO allies need to pay more, and he is saying that as president. But, David, he is definitely no longer saying that NATO is obsolete. He will say tomorrow that NATO is essential.
All right, and you'll be right there. John Karl reporting in tonight. John, thank you. Next tonight, as we report on the terror overseas and concerns about what could be brought onto planes, we're learning tonight that the TSA is now testing new screening procedures. Those changes include requiring passengers at some airports to remove electronics from their bags, anything bigger than a cell phone. So let's get right to ABC's David Curley live at Reagan National with us tonight. Hey, David.
Good morning, good evening, David. Excuse me. The concern here is that everyday items like electronics can look like explosives in X-ray machines. And this comes as the TSA is considering expanding its laptop ban. Now, the current screening machines, in essence, give out a one-dimensional picture, and in our pack bags, that's sometimes difficult for screeners to get a clear picture of devices. So TSA is testing at 10 airports now a new procedure that requires passengers to put any electronic device bigger than a cell phone in a bin, some food items too. Now, David, TSA has been testing this for a year already. No word on whether or if they will implement this nationwide.
All right, David Curley with us live tonight. David, thank you. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Wednesday. The worker buried today. Emergency teams on the scene. He's still alive, they believe. The desperate search. The worker trapped under about 15 feet of dirt. The race now to try to get him out. There's also news coming in tonight about an arrest warrant. The famous fitness expert with legions of followers accused of sexual assault and hiding his assets. Did he flee the country? And America Strong tonight, the grad student and the mom who took notes when he could not. Stay tuned tonight. The surprise in store for that mom. It's America Strong.